Mentor's Capital. As a platform, we aim to further student aspirations by giving practical insights around program selection, college evaluation, admission process review, and much, much more. We do this by connecting with expert mentors across the globe, people who have applied to various programs abroad and have faced tricky situations, right? And by understanding how they navigated such challenging situations in their life, in their admission process, we hope to give you some knowledge, some tips on how to navigate the same in your journey. Hopefully, also helping you meet with success. In today's interview, I welcome Saksham. Hi, Saksham. Thanks for coming on board for today.
Hi, sir. Thanks for inviting me.
Wonderful, man. Saksham, I mean, you're doing something very, very interesting. Why don't you tell our viewers exactly what you're doing currently, what keeps you occupied?
Sure. I'm Saksham Manaktala. I am currently in the second year of my course at University of Waterloo.
Yeah.
I am pursuing computer engineering right now. It's a co-op program. So I study for 4 months and then I work for 4 months. So right now I'm in my study term, 1 week into my second year.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think the first question, and I think a very, very big clarification to all our viewers is about what exactly is this co-op program? Because if you haven't heard about the co-op program in Canada yet, then you're really missing something big. I'll let you take over at that, Saksham.
Sure. So co-op program is actually a very big thing in Canadian universities. So University of Waterloo is one of the leading universities when it comes to co-op program.
Mm-hmm.
So we get into co-op straight from our first year.
Right.
So what co-op program basically is that you can work along with your studies to get industry experience relevant to your subject. So it basically what it is like you study for a fixed duration of time. And then instead of having a break or summer holidays, you go and intern or work full time for a company in Canada, or it can be international as well, which is relevant to your future goals or what you're studying.
Right.
So you do that continuously after every year or after every term, depending on your course, so that you know what you want to do and you have experimented with all kinds of jobs.
Right. And just in case anybody gets confused on this, no. This isn't like most other courses that we study where you do a particular semester and then you go intern for a month or so and then come back and continue with your education. That's not how the co-op program works, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Saksham, but I believe that the co-op terms, first of all, are as long as the study terms, and they're usually interspersed in between, which means that your internship will not be like a 1 month informal internship. It's going to be a rigorous 3 to maybe 6 month internship. And B, it will count towards your progress in the course, which means that you have to be putting in the hard hours and you will get a rating from your employer, which would go towards your overall course performance. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So like my course length is 4 years, 8 months, out of which a total of 2 years broken into different segments is my work term. So so I have 6 work terms of 4 months each, and it's mandatory for me to complete 5 work terms to get my degree. Like it's a part of my course. It's not an optional thing. And it's not like a small internship or something. You have to a full 8-hour work days for 4 months, and you get the same experience as you would in a job, just for a shorter duration of time. So it's exactly how universities have placements. It's like we sit through placements every 4 months. We apply it to companies and then we give interviews and the technical round, all of them. We go through all of this every 4 months and then we get a job.
I mean, straight away you can see the benefits of a co-op program. To put this in Saksham's own words, you do go through a placement process every 4 months, every 6 months or so, which means that you get better at tackling interviews and other processes that companies use for selection. And B, even though you're calling it an internship, technically speaking, it's far away from an internship because the selection process is much more rigorous. The work itself is a lot more structured and, Saksham pointed out, specific hours of work. So you can't take it lightly, and it is pretty serious work.
So the basic difference between an internship and a co-op job is like internship can either be paid or unpaid, and a co-op job has to be paid. You have to be treated like any other employee at the company would be. So that's the major difference.
I think you put the cherry on the cake there. The fact that you get to work and you get to get better also, and you get paid for it. I think that's more than one can ask for. So when one applies to Canada, do you have the option of choosing whether you are applying for a normal program or a co-op program? Is that how it works?
So in general, at a lot of universities, you do get the option. Even in University of Waterloo, you get the option, but not for the engineering courses.
Okay.
So they want to keep a specific level of the engineering courses. So if you want to do engineering from University of Waterloo, you have to go into a core program. So you don't get the option in that specific field, but in general, you do get the option in every university in
Canada. So if I'm studying economics or I'm studying some other program in Canada, or even law for that matter, then I probably need to choose. Depending on the university, it might offer me a normal and a co-op program, and I can choose to pick one of them. All right, understood. And also talk to me about the placement process, because you did say that there's a placement rigorous process that happens every co-op term, before every co-op term. What kind of processes are followed? Is the pool of interviews of companies rather large enough to guarantee that every student gets a job? Because I mean, I'm immediately thinking about Indians, where India, where you have these number of students who study even at the best of colleges, but not everybody gets a job. So how does that work out for you guys in Canada?
Yeah. So when you enter university in the first year, you obviously don't know a lot about jobs and how do you sit for interviews. So they do have some incubation classes and everything where they teach you and you go through the entire process.
Okay.
So you get around 2 to 3 weeks till when you can prepare your resume and do all the formalities and go for mock interviews and everything.
Okay.
After which the job board opens. That's only for the first year when you're applying for it the first time.
Okay.
So the job board opens, and then you can go on applying to the companies that are placing their opportunities over there.
Okay.
And then it's the same process. You put in your resumes, you answer all the questions, and then they select you, and then you go for an interview. So it's all of that. But after you're done with it for the first time and you're pretty well versed with this entire process, as soon as your study terms start, 1 week into it, the jobs will start coming. So like right now, taking my example, in second year, this is my first week of my second year. So the jobs have already been opened, and there are around 950 plus jobs, close to 1,000 jobs right now for engineering.
Okay.
And so you can straight away go and apply to them and then wait for the interviews results. So it's basically the job finding process is also broken into two parts. The one is the major first round in which you go on applying for a month or two, and then the companies select you and give the decision. And if you don't get a job in those first 2 months, then the continuous process starts, in which you can apply every week. There are new jobs coming up, and they start giving the decisions quickly. So you can apply to new companies weekly.
Okay, so it's fairly there's a very high chance that somebody in the co-op program does indeed find a job. The process is built in a manner which is rolling and does give you many opportunities. Okay, I understood that. All right, so now I want to now that you've told us so much about this interesting program, I want to go a couple of steps back. You're somebody who studied in India. So when is it that you decided made your mind up about two aspects that you clearly are pursuing right now? A program in computer science. Were there any other consideration that at some point in school life where you considered other options? And if so, then how did you choose computer science? And B, once you decided computer science, when did you decide that Canada is the place that you want to apply to? Or did you choose other countries, other universities as well?
Yeah. So like almost all the kids in India, I too joined the coaching classes in 9th grade and 10th grade, and I went through that entire process. But that's when I figured out that no, I really am not, like, I cannot go through this entire rigorous process.
We're talking about the JEE, the JEE.
Yeah. Like I did sit for the exams, but I was sure of it. Like I don't want to go through this entire rigorous process just to end up like every other person in the country. And like there's a very small majority of people who reach the top 1% because of the sheer population of the country. Yes. So I was certain of that I don't want to give in so much work just to get nothing in return. like probably after that. So that's when I decided and like even while studying for JEE mains, I was sure that my end goal, I don't want to pursue my career choices in this country. I would like to go out and then work. So that was certain from even before. But the question in my mind was that what's the path that I'm going to take? Do I want to study for 4 years in India and then do my MBA or something from outside, or what's exactly?
Okay, so study abroad was a choice you'd already made. It's only a question of how and when.
How? Yeah, like settling abroad was the choice I made, but studying here and then going. So that was
right. Understood.
And then after like looking at all the curriculums and how the infrastructure works, I was pretty certain that if possible, I would like to go out and study either in the USA or in South Asian other countries, because they would be able to provide me with better opportunities.
Okay.
So that's how I decided that yes, okay, I do want to settle abroad. So Canada was not just the only option. I applied to 3-4 other countries as well. I was a little too late. I didn't. It was my fault. I didn't take note of the deadline, so I missed the USA deadlines for applications. But I did apply to Singapore, Hong Kong, and Canada.
Okay.
So out of those, then I chose Canada mainly because of the co-op program and the opportunities that I was able to see.
Do you mind telling us which universities you applied to in Singapore and Hong Kong?
So in Hong Kong, I applied to HKU and HKUST. In Singapore, I applied to NTU and NUS.
Right.
And in Canada, I applied to UBC, Waterloo, McGill, McMaster, and Carnegie Mellon, I guess. Yeah.
Carnegie Mellon. Okay.
I'm not sure if
not the one in the US. Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah, Carnegie Mellon. Yeah, because they had a little late deadline.
All right. Yeah. But to all these universities in Canada, you had a clear preference for the co-op program.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you know about the co-op program at that point in time?
So it was when I went to the university's application page, there were options of co-op program and non-co-op program. So that's where I first heard of it.
Right.
And then when I further researched, I got to know what exactly.
All right, understood. So no prior information, but clearly right now you're here to make that difference in other people's life, but telling them this is a great opportunity. All right, so you decided, but what about the choice of computer science? Were you sure about computer science, or were you more in the space of I want to do engineering, I want to study technical course study, but not sure which specialization?
So no, I was certain of this, that if I want to do engineering, it's gonna be computer engineering, computer science.
Okay.
Because I never did any hands-on work, so I was sure that even if I can think mechanically, I wasn't certain. Like I had never tried out mechanical stuff in my life, so I wasn't sure if that's my calling.
Right.
And I had always participated in computer events. I was always been interested in how computer works, and problem solving and everything. Engineers, like basically, they are problem solvers. So I was sure that engineering is my calling. That's how I think. That's my way of thinking. But then afterwards, after choosing engineering, I was sure that computers are my calling, because that's the thing that I'm most interested in.
I can see the after effect of the placement process. And you're already saying the right stuff by saying engineers are all problem solvers. You're already getting a sense of how to present yourself. Wonderful. Okay, so now let's talk about you've decided Canada as a thing. You've decided computer science. Apply to these places. Obviously, your choice of universities were based on rankings and kind of outcomes that happen after engineering, after the course of study. But what about the application itself? Did you what do you think? So you applied to these many schools. First question: which schools were you finally accepted in?
So I was accepted in HKU and all the other universities in Canada as well. NTU, I think, because my board grades or something, they were delayed.
Okay.
They went for checking and everything, so so that's why I missed out on that.
Okay.
But yeah, I was accepted in all the universities applied in Canada and HKU.
So pretty much most universities, at least in Canada perspective, I think every university liked you. So tell us what in your profile you think helped you, because you're sure that there are many more students who are now applying to Canadian universities, and the ones that you applied to are pretty much near the top 5 in Canada. So what do you think helped make your profile strong to a top 5 university?
So there were a lot of things that I added to my profile. I tried to check mark all the boxes, like except for sports, I had everything else figured out. I had global exposures, MUNs, and everything else that I thought was necessary.
Absolutely.
So what my outlook is that I think South Asian countries, they focus more on academics. So if you have a lot of Olympiads, you have a lot of academic achievements, and grades have always been consistent and high, they don't think about anything else. So that's what they're majorly focused on. But for the American universities, North American universities, they focus on you as an all-rounded person and what your personality is and what else can you bring to the university.
Right.
So I think since I had a lot of leadership experiences, I was in the student council, I worked for the school newspaper as well. Then I participated in quizzes and events, debate speeches. Also with that, I had Olympiads and my grades were also on par with them. So I guess the all-rounded fact helped me a lot for applying.
All right. So if you're listening in and you want to apply to a university in the US or Canada, mark the words of Saksham on this. Try to be an all-rounder with experience across buckets, across, let's say, academics, extracurriculars, leadership, global exposure, etc., etc. Wonderful. Good to hear that. But when one thinks about applying to a Canadian university or even American universities, I think one consideration is always the high cost of studying at these universities, right? Sure, a co-op program does allow you to make earn some money as you work, but surely the tuition cost is still a major enough consideration for you. So, what was the outlook on that, and did you do something, out of the way to get some financial aid or assistance?
So yeah, because of my this, so the one thing that I did not know was that you could. I thought that after looking at your application, they provide you with scholarships
Correct.
automatically.
Correct.
But then once I emailed them asking about this, then they told me no, you can, like, there are various lists of scholarships on our website, and you can apply for them individually after looking at them and seeing if you are cut out for them. So I did apply for a few scholarships, and I got them for the first year. And so that was one financial aid, if you put it
Could you
like
talk
that.
about could you talk about the scholarships that you applied for and maybe the ones that you got?
Yeah, so the one basic scholarship was the one which was based on your 12th grade results. So that I definitely got. And the other ones were like, then they were about what your check mark, like what I was telling you, that I check mark a lot of boxes. So they were focused on various things, like if you have done this, if you have achieved this in the in your life, like in your school time till now, then you can apply for those. So I did get one other scholarship that was for $2,000, and one another for $1,500. So those were the two that I got. So there's a list of a lot of scholarships. They also depend on where you're coming from. If you're coming from Middle Eastern countries, that they have different kinds of scholarships for you.
Right.
So they're varied different types. So I cannot like tell them exactly what all. You can list. You can see them on any university's website.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah, the high tuition fee is something that I did have to worry about, but thankfully my like parents looked at it as a form of investment, and they always believed that education should be the topmost priority. So but like also, yeah, USA colleges have very high tuition fee, but it's relatively less in South Asian countries. If you go to Hong Kong or Singapore, the tuition fee would be relatively less. In Canada, it was somewhere in between.
Right.
And also, yeah, as you said, the co-op program, it attracts you a lot.
Right. I mean, I'm sure you're paying somewhere in the middle of, what you'd pay at South Asia or in the US, but there's also the additional help you get by way of these scholarships as well as the co-op program. So I'm sure it worked out neatly for you in the end.
Yeah.
So okay. Yeah. Here's a slightly different question. Now that you're in your second year at studying computer science in Waterloo, how does your course compare with the courses that are administered out of India? Right. I'm sure you have some friends who studying computer science engineering in India. So have you swapped notes? Are you able to compare the structure of the program itself and the outcomes maybe in some sense?
Yeah, so I do have friends studying, like pursuing the same course of computer engineering in India as well, in DTU and IITs and everything. So I do talk about it when I get assignments. I do discuss with them what they're doing. So content-wise, it's more or less the same. We are at a little more advanced state. Like, so what the major difference between my course and my friend's course here in India is that we right now in first year and second year, we are doing a lot of stuff from various engineering fields. Like we're doing a few courses from third year mechanics, we're doing a few courses from mechatronics, robotics, second years and everything. So we have a mixture of a lot of courses, while theirs is just focused on computer engineering right now. So that was one major difference. The content topics are more or less the basics are the same, but then the course material and the way that they're taught and everything, they are a little bit varied. So yeah, that's one of the main.
All right, understood. Okay, let's talk also about the Waterloo University, right? It's like you said, in computer science, one of the top ranked universities in Canada. What has your experience been of your university so far? You can talk from a technical and a non-technical standpoint, just as students' experience of their university.
Yeah. So if you spend a few days at my university, you'll clearly get to know that their major focus is on the math and the engineering faculties. They put in a lot of resources for those specific courses. So this is one thing that you'll notice quite often. There is a lot of course load and workload. Everywhere you go during exam seasons, you'll see there have been like tables and chairs, even in the gyms and everything. There will be a lot of tables and chairs for people to study, and they all would be full. Everywhere you go during the exam seasons, people would be studying. So it's like a totally different atmosphere. But during the non-exam days as well, the university is really fun. Like they have TD tables everywhere, they have pool tables everywhere, coffee shops where you can sit in front of the library, inside the library. They have gyms, they have all kind of sports and everything. So in that way, it is pretty good, but it is a little bit focused on academics, and they want you to excel.
So the clear indication from the universities, and then you're here to study. We'll keep you focused on that, and sure there are other activities to keep your to keep your focus going. Okay. Any unexpected thing with regard to Canada or just a co-op program, or maybe even Waterloo University? Something unexpected in your journey. You landed with a different perspective, but then there was something which was unexpected for you.
Yeah, so the most unexpected thing would be like there were a lot of children in my class. I did not imagine it to go, and the amount of diversity which was there. So I thought that it would be majorly just Indians and Canadians would be there, but there was a lot of diversity. There were people from all different kind of countries, and everyone just sitting there in one classroom. So like for my course specifically, they like 150 people in one classroom.
Wow.
So and they were all from like varied countries and various races and everything. So that was very unexpected. It was a good surprise.
It was an unexpected yet a happy discovery.
Happy discovery. Yeah.
Wonderful. Tell me what specifically is is the advantage now that you've studied in India in a very homogeneous classroom, and then back in Canada now you're studying in a multicultural environment. What do you think that adds in terms of your both your cultural experience and also within the course of study? Do you think that it's important to study computer science with a bunch of people from different races and cultures?
So the one major difference that I've observed in how courses are taught here than they're there is like the universities over there, they treat you like adults.
Right.
So in India, I've seen this a lot. Like teachers are running after a student to get this much of attendance and some pointless stuff like this. But there, it's all on you. You are there to build your own future. So they keep you at that, like they hold you to that responsibility that whatever the actions that you're taking, whatever you're doing, it's like you're the only one who's responsible for them. So there's no like spoon feeding as such. It's up to you if you want to attend classes, if you don't want to attend classes. Everything is at your disposal, but no one is going to tell you that you need to do this, you can't do this. If you want to skip all your classes, you want to sit outside, you can do that. No one's going to tell you and do otherwise. But yeah, so that's one of the main differences that I've seen. Also, so in terms of teaching as well, it's the same thing. So they.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interlude, but my question was: so if you're studying something like a computer science, right? Do you think it matters that the people sitting and studying with you are a bunch of people from different countries, continents, spaces, cultures, backgrounds? Do you think that is relevant to you learning computer science and math?
So no, like of course, if you, it doesn't matter if you're focusing just on the subjects that you're doing. You can study it alone in a room, or you can study it with a lot of people from different places. It doesn't matter. You want to learn the same thing. As when it's like related to your course. But when it comes to group activities and things that you have to do in group, you get to learn a lot more about how people think and what their thought processes are. Like, not like.
Could you give us
very out there?
Could you give us an example of something that you learned about a culture or the way that another country person from another country or race or culture, the way they think?
Yeah, so the major difference that I saw was they were taught more from like a building up perspective. So they do look at the basis and then they work hard and hard in building the base strong. And then it's more of like they can derive any problem by breaking it down into small components and then solving it. But whereas for us, it was like that we are given a lot of tough problems in school as well, but we don't look at them from the base level. We are taught to solve them from a top-down level. So like we do the same things again and again and again, and then we have to figure out ourselves how this might be working. So the basic thing is the speed of learning. So if they have to learn something, it'll take them 1 or 2 months to learn a difficult concept. But for us, we have to keep doing that for 3, 4 months, 5 months, and then we will get expertise from them. So that was one major difference that I saw was in the learning process.
Makes a lot of sense. What's your? I mean, you've obviously been in Canada in very, very tough times, I must say. With the pandemic raging all around, you've completed 1 year of your program. I'm sure it came with its own set of unique challenges. But how do you think the pandemic? I know that it's probably too early to ask you these kind of questions, but how do you think the pandemic is affecting jobs and employability, right? Because that's a big concern for somebody looking to apply. Are there enough jobs? Are there going to be jobs by the time I graduate, say in 2024 or 2025? So what's your reading about the same?
So when the pandemic actually started hitting, I was in the middle of my work term. So I had just started working for a company in March, and that's when things started hitting Canada as well. So the first thing that was done is that it was a co-working space where my company was based. It was a startup. So the co-working space had closed down.
All right.
So the first thing that happened was that I got like a work from home for the foreseeable future. But then things started getting worse in just a few days, and people started going back to their home countries, to their parents' house. So that's when like I also like I was working from home the entire time. Thankfully, because of my kind of work, I was able to like I did not need to go there every day and interact with things that I cannot bring home. I just need my laptop and I can work. So the work from home shift was instant. In fact, even before the pandemic, there was a huge work from home culture in Canadian working places. So people usually used to get 1 or 2 work from home days in a week, so that they can take care of everything happening at the home as well, along with working, and they can stay productive. So it wasn't a new thing for them, but like obviously for such a long period of time, it did bring a few changes, but the transition was very smooth. They switched instantly to Zoom meetings and keeping regular checks and updates. And I didn't have to face anything while I was working. But then for the next work term, it got a little difficult because economical conditions of most companies were not that good. So they couldn't afford getting new people and a lot of them were shutting down. So yes, it did hit a little bit during the first 3-4 months, but then it started recovering again and again. The university, it loosened its policies for co-op. So as I told you, like a co-op has to be paid, and there are certain conditions that have to be met for it to be considered a co-op. So they loosened them a little bit. They reduced the work hours and everything so that people can still get the experience if it doesn't meet the criteria. So university helped with that. And fortunately for my course, the jobs weren't affected as much after the initial 3-4 months. So the employment statistics, as far as I remember, was still like 92% of people in my class were employed, which beforehand used to be 97, 98. But for other fields such as civil, mechanical, chemical, they were a little more hard hit. So they had to be like, so their employment statistics lowered down to 50%, 60%.
Okay.
So that was one major thing. But now, as I told you, like there are a lot of jobs right now. So it's back to track.
Okay. Okay. Understood. So you talked about specifically how the co-op programs reacted to the pandemic and what happened during and after the pandemic. Any I know it's a hard question, but any predictions for in a post-COVID world? Do you think things are going to be back and rosy in Canada?
So right now the entire country is in lockdown all over again. So till the time a lot of people are vaccinated or there's a cure, I don't think that it's gonna be like there are gonna be a lot of opportunities for hands-on work.
Yeah.
But for computer science related or business related jobs, they're gonna go with the same.
Understood. So talk to me about your employment and career prospects from here on, because you're an excitable young man. You're doing a very, very practical program that mixes computer science and work. So you're going to be pretty hands-on when you graduate. So what are your further thoughts? Are you going to go and work? Have you made that? Do you have an inclination right now for whether it's going to be work after your undergraduate program in engineering, or are you going to go in for higher studies? Which direction are you tending right now?
So right now I am tending towards the direction of working, because I think if I have sufficient experience, I would be able to take on jobs more easily and get to the competent levels more easily. But if in the future I think that right now I was wrong, there is an option of studying further.
So but what kind of specialization are you looking at? A specific field in which to work and maybe let's study later on?
So I don't want to get into proper like hardcore coding for the rest of my life. Okay. I want to use it as a way to get into more of the management positions. So if I do pursue higher studies, they would be in business. That's what my state of mind is right now. I don't know if it changes. Right. But yeah, that's the state of mind right now. But till now as well, but right now I would like to work first and then see if studying more would help me get better jobs.
Tell us about your last work term. What was your internship about? What kind of work were you doing?
So the last work term was in the middle of the pandemic. So I applied from here, from my home, and then I got the job and everything went on online. So the job position was for a web developer. So I wasn't very interested in web development right now, because that's what I did in the first co-op as well. I was looking for variety, but because of everything, the job cuts and everything, I was just thankful enough to get a job. Right. So I worked as a web developer for a startup in Vancouver. It's basically a non-profit startup. Right. So that's what I worked for. That's what I worked for. I worked as a position of web developer, and also with that, I managed all the digital content and what they put up on their Facebook and LinkedIn and advertisements. So I looked at it from a little bit of a marketing point of view as well, which I am starting to get a little bit interested in right now. Okay. And also I did the technical stuff.
Okay. That sounds like you had your hands full during the internship. Sure. Okay, Saksham, if you're okay with it, then I'll also want to switch to a rapid fire round. Ask some impersonal, casual questions and see where we go with that. Your favorite activity on campus?
Eating shawarma with rice.
Eating shawarmas with rice. Okay, that's something that you're gonna have to explain. Why shawarmas
Yeah.
with rice?
So yeah, Canada is like a very welcoming place, so you can find food of different kind of cuisines and everything over there. So Middle Eastern cuisine was one of the major things that I discovered during my stay there.
Okay.
So and everyone over there, they love Middle Eastern food, they love burgers and everything. So yeah, it's a big, like we have like 3 shawarma joints on campus like this, so everyone loves Middle Eastern food.
Okay. Any local Canadian dish that you've tasted that you'd really recommend?
So the most famous Canadian dish over there is poutine. It's basically French fries with cheese curds and sauce. It's okay as appetizer, but I'm not a huge fan of it. It's like it's very unhealthy. So I don't want to eat it on a regular basis.
Okay, you watch your diet and your weight. That's good. That's good. Okay, talk to me about the most bizarre local custom that you've observed. Right, something that the locals do blew your mind. Right, anything like that at all.
There's nothing as such. It's just their way of speaking. The $1 is called a loony, $2 is called a toonie. So it's just the local language and how they talk about things and different ways of saying the same thing.
Okay, so do you have any loonies? Do you have any toonies? That's the way that you're talking about. Wonderful. That sounds quite interesting. I can imagine a conversation going on in those terms. Okay, if you were to sum up your entire college experience so far, I know it's not been a great deal of time, but how would you sum it up in a single word or a phrase, or maybe even a song with you, or movie, something like that?
I'm not that creative to put it into a song, but a single phrase would be very demanding but rewarding at the same time.
Demanding yet rewarding. Okay, understood. I think that conveys a lot to anybody who's watching this video. Absolutely. One of the most interesting moments of your course so far?
So the most interesting moments would be the incubation classes or the classes like the informal classes in which they come and teach you about the different cultures and how you should deal with people and the management kind of classes.
All right.
So they have been really fun. They've been teachers dancing and explaining stuff to us.
Wow.
So,
wow, that sounds like fun. That doesn't sound like class. Okay. And the most embarrassing moment for you so far?
The most embarrassing moment, I would not say like it was a publicly embarrassing moment, but so like obviously because of different cultures during the co-op search, the Canadian people, they were getting job interviews very often because they had the relevant experience, but we coming from an Indian education system, we did not have a lot of job experience. So it was kind of disheartening at first during the first round when I had only like one interview and people were getting 10 interviews.
Wow.
So that I would say was a little disheartening, but then you catch up with them and it's all okay.
I mean, you rationalize that it's for a different reason and not only a belief.
Exactly.
Absolutely. One relationship that you've cultivated and that you're really, really glad of, proud about. It could be one with a professor or with a student, with an administrative member, anybody at all.
So because of like the big class size, I wasn't able to form a one-on-one relationship with the professor as such right now. It might come in the future as the class size decreases. But I was living on the university residence. And so there they have like one upper year living on every floor who like organizes activities and everything every Friday or twice a week to keep a sense of community and so that everyone talks to each other. That was a good relationship. They're called dons, the upper years. So it's kind of like a side job for them. They get paid for it and everything.
Okay.
So so that one relationship with my don who helps you out with everything related to university because they have been through the same things. So that has been a good relationship.
Who's this Don that you're talking about? What's he called?
So that position is called Don, but university Dons. But she was like a third year kinesiology major.
Wow.
Her name was Kiran. So she helped us a lot with easing into the university phase and helping us each other with peers.
Understood. That sounds interesting. Okay. Any last words of advice? I mean, you answered my rapid fire so well that I'm sort of dumbstruck here. But in closing, any parting words of wisdom, something that you'd like to leave, somebody who's watching your video is looking to apply to Canada. Any parting words of wisdom?
So one thing that I've observed like till now is that if you have an end goal in mind, if you know what you want to achieve, you will make a way to get that. It doesn't matter if you are studying in India, it doesn't matter if you're studying, if you have a different course, but if you have that end goal in mind and you are constantly working towards it, making even small increments towards it, you will achieve it one day or another.
Sure.
So different kinds of universities and everything, they would help you accelerate towards it or provide you with more resources. But there's like no reason to get disheartened. You will achieve what you want.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Very nice, kind words. I think inspiring words for our viewers. Thanks a lot for coming on today, Saksham. All the best with your study term and work terms to follow. I am really glad that we have somebody like you on our mentorship panel, and I hope that you're going to keep your slots open for people from India who are looking at you probably as the Don, as the Waterloo Don. Maybe we can call you that. But all the best, and please have a great year and stay